Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, July 28th, I believe, right on that. Welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream. My name is Alan Collins, founder of Student Loan Justice. We are the oldest, largest, and in many ways only true grassroots citizens group fighting for student loan justice. So for the first 16 years of our existence, that was very moderately, meaning fighting for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. However, certainly since this pandemic and even before, it is now a catastrophically failed lending system. And the best thing to do, truly, at this point, is to cancel all federally owned student loans, which the president can do, and I'll discuss this in a minute, by executive order, without adding one dime to the national debt, without requiring one penny from the Treasury. But number two, return bankruptcy protections to student loans. So I'm not sure if I said that in the right order. Number one, return bankruptcy protections to all student loans. That's still the primary objective here, and I'll get into that in a minute. Number two, cancel all federally owned student loans. So I give it that priority, and there's good reason for that. So first thing, couple of announcements. There's a lot going on right now, folks. I've gotten some very good words from Washington, D.C. in the past day. I cannot tell you anything more than that. And I'm sorry to be a tease, but I don't do this very often. But suffice it to say, it is very important. The next week and the next probably couple of months are going to be a deal winner or loser for us in many, many ways. That's just about the most I can say. But believe you me when I say this, we've been waiting for what's going to happen next week for a long time. And I will have more to say about that. Maybe this week, more than likely it will be next week. But the main thing that you need to know right now, we've been doing this for 16 years, guys. I don't want to be doing this for even another year. What we all do in the next month, 2 months, and certainly in the next week is just so critically important. We're asking people to do daily actions. So it might be sending some politicians some data on Twitter. It might be contacting the media. But we're doing daily actions, and they're always very smartly targeted actions. So we pretty much know what we're doing at this point. So trust me when I tell you that everybody, including you sitting there, participating with these daily actions is just absolutely and critically important right now. So you'll know what I'm talking about a week from today, and we can stop the cloak and dagger stuff. But yeah. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines watching other people run around working, don't do that. This is a working group, guys. This is not entertainment Facebook group. This is not grab your popcorn and a cup of coffee and watch other people talk. No. These are your loans. This is your problem. And this is our window. So I would hope that when people come into this group, they will, if they haven't up to now, from now on, I hope they'll realize they've got to be pitching in and doing the work necessary, because these loans will persist forever if we don't do stuff. On the other hand, if a significant percentage of the people on this group, and I would say on our petition also, do the fairly easy work, it's really not even that much work, it's just a tiny bit of effort. If everybody is rowing in the same direction and actually doing these actions that we ask, we'll have this problem solved in lickety-split, guys. It's that simple. If 100% of everybody on our group were to do our daily actions, I think we'd probably have this problem licked in a matter of months. If everybody on our petition was to actually do the easy daily actions we ask, this problem would be solved in like 2 weeks. It wouldn't even be a thing. So there's great power in numbers, guys. We've got numbers. We've got over 1 million people on our petition right now. So there's that. If you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them, it's big if actually. I'm doing cell phone live stream, but I'm actually monitoring the broadcast on my website or on my laptop. So it's not. I can't always see the comments. But if you guys do have any comments, then by all means throw them out, and if I can see them, I will definitely respond to them. So let's see. First of all, maybe the bad news. So Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, came out today saying, "Oh, the president can't cancel loans by executive order. Congress has got to do that." And number one, the mask the mask hiding Nancy Pelosi's swamp creature-ness came off today. Like we've been watching Pelosi for decades now, and she's never done anything good on the student loan issue. So we never really put a whole lot of stock in her in the first place. But today was just brazen. You know, first of all, let me just say, the president absolutely and unambiguously does have the power to cancel student loans. We looked at the law, the Higher Education Act, very carefully, and public law, even going back to 1957, believe it or not, it got grandfathered into the Higher Education Act of 1965. The language in that legislation very clearly and ambiguously gives the Secretary of Education very broad authority to waive, compromise, or release the federal interest in student loans. And so people people who say that that power doesn't exist, they're just wrong. Some heretofore very well-respected people like Mark Kantrowitz, for example, they are opposing, they are disputing that the president has this power, and they do not have a legal leg to stand on. They don't. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've looked very closely at this code, and I've looked very closely at a lot of code regarding higher education over the years. And I can tell you that the president has this, the secretary, and thereby the president, definitely has this very broad authority to waive, cancel, compromise. Now, our opposition, like Mark Kantrowitz, shame on him, by the way. Speaking of the masks falling off of the swamp creatures, I'm really sorry to say that about Mark, but I gotta point the finger where it needs to point. The argument they're making points back to like a line in the Constitution that says the president cannot make any executive order. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. The president cannot issue an order that forces Congress or forces money to be drawn from the Treasury. So the president can't say, "Oh, give everybody a check for $1 million." Can't do that without legislation being passed. And the Constitution is very clear. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury without legislation from Congress. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Canceling federally owned student loans requires not one dime to be drawn from the Treasury. And by the way, unlike all these PPP loans and other stimulus we've seen in the past year and a half, adds nothing, zero, to the national debt. So our critics' arguments, what the people that Nancy Pelosi is listening to, obviously, they're clueless. Thankfully, we've got some good lawyers on our side of that argument. And I mean, really, guys, we looked at a Department of Education early memo that disputed the president's and the secretary's power to cancel student loans. And it was a nonsensical argument. It was, in fact, last time I checked, the Department of Education had taken it off of their website, which I don't think they do that very often. But it was just amazingly weak argument. They pointed to this no money shall be drawn from the Treasury language. And beyond that, they threw in the kitchen sink. They were like, "Oh, moral hazard," and this and that. Just nonsense. It was not a strong legal memo at all. So anyways, we've got people like Toby Merrill now at the Department of Education. We should have James Cavall pretty soon, who He's not bad. He shouldn't be bad. He has told me personally that he has fought for the return of bankruptcy protections behind the scenes at the White House in years past under President Obama. So we'll see what that memo comes out with. Don't freak out too much about what we heard Nancy Pelosi say today. Nancy Pelosi is just, she's a stuffed shirt. And, you know, shame on her. I say that all day long. I mean, she is clearly on the side of the student loan mafia in Washington, D.C. on this. So we got this, guys. Trust me. And remember, if ever you are up in arms about stuff you read in the media about, oh, no, the president can't do it or whatever, those people have no idea what they're talking about. The Forbes people, they're clueless. President Biden himself has no idea what he is going to do on the student loan problem. We are in uncharted territory here, guys. Nobody knows, right? There's a repayment suspension on. Almost nobody is paying on their loans. Even before the pandemic, something like 50% of everybody was not paying on their loans. Another 30% were paying and paying, but their loan balances were going up. So now, today, almost nobody is paying. Now, if and when this repayment suspension expires at the end of September, if you think that many or maybe even any people are going to resume paying, no, it's not going to happen. The lending system is catastrophically failed. I've said that at the top. I'll say it again. And the good thing is, and this is a very important point, and again, I'm looking for your comments here. I can't even see the video right now. Okay, there it is. If you have any questions, comments, throw them out. The lending system is toast. And the funny thing is, you know, for years and years and years, in the absence of bankruptcy protections, in the absence of statutes of limitations, in the presence of all these draconian collection powers given to the lending people, you know, they could make more money by doing nothing. It was a very, very slick scam they had working. Like, the less they did, the more money they made. Like, the more they screwed up paperwork and baffled and bamboozled the borrowers and confused us and ushered us into default and all these terrible things, the more money they made. So they could just sit back, and the less they did and the worse they performed, the more money they would make, right? Because when people defaulted, that just made their loan double, triple, quadruple, etc. Well, interestingly, we now have a dynamic where doing nothing, which is what they've done for the past year and a half, that plays against them. Right? I mean, think about it this way. The longer this repayment suspension goes, the fewer people will ever begin repaying on their loans again. So this is not a position the government is used to finding itself in. They love the sit back, do nothing, and everything just sort of accrues to you. They're used to that model, but now that same dynamic is now working against them. They would love to just keep this repayment suspension going on forever, but the longer they wait, the worse it's going to be. So the longer they wait, the stronger we get. So remember that, guys. We're in a very good position right now. But again, you know, as I said at the top, windows come up every so often. There's a big window opened when the pandemic happened. Thankfully, we started the national conversation about canceling student loans by executive order. It's a very important thing. And that window is still it's still open. I mean, we're still there. This next window that's going to be opening next week is going to be a very important window. But, you know, these windows come and they open and they close, guys. Over the past 16 years, we've seen dozens of windows open and then close. And it did not go our way in the past. And, you know, there's a lot of reasons you can point to. But the number one reason I can point to that we can control is our lack of action. Not my, I've been busting my ass this whole time. But everybody out there, you need to take a very personal, private look at your own being, your own existence, and say, hey, do I really want to die in debt? Do I really want to have even another year of my life wrecked by this black dog that's been following me around? I hope the answer to that is no. I hope it's not. Because we need you. We don't need you moping around and bitching and doing nothing and watching other people's work and watching and waiting and worrying. We don't need you doing that. That doesn't help us. We need you helping us, working. Now, there's no easy way to say it. This is not a control thing. I'm not like a puppet master guy. Control gives me no pleasure at all. I'd much rather take this banner behind me and throw in the garbage and these loans are gone and I can move on with my life. And I hope that you feel the same way. But in order for that to happen, you've got to help. So yeah. So anyways, don't worry about the Nancy Pelosi thing. This is a dying lending system, guys. It's vanishing to a mist of illegitimacy as we speak. And there are going to be a lot more shoes to fall off of this millipede. I think John McCain said that about the whole Trump thing. But there's going to be a lot of more little dips and tucks and turns and dips and dives in this roller coaster. So don't sweat the small stuff. Whatever you're reading in the headlines today, it's basically meaningless. The Forbes people like to pretend they know what's going to happen. They don't. The people you read, the people at Forbes that you read their stuff, they act like they're being unbiased reporters. They're not. Like half of those people make money off the student loan scam. They prey on vulnerable borrowers. They don't want this scam ended. They don't. So when they write stuff and they pretend like they're reporting stuff, they're not. They're putting a spin on it. They're telling you what they want to happen. So like this thing with Pelosi today, I would suspect we'll probably see some headlines today, tomorrow, and the next day saying, well, looks like Pelosi put the loan cancellation issue to bed. Looks like that's a dead issue now. They will probably say stuff like that. Because they don't want this lending system going away. They're making money off of it. So don't trip, guys. We got this. Remember, in the final analysis, that $1.6 trillion in outstanding federal student loan debt, all that money, if it's going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from me and from you, from us. It's not going to come from the chumps, the hacks at Forbes magazine, or any of the other media, national media that we see out there reporting on this topic. It's going to come from us. You know what that means? That means that we hold the gold. There's an old proverb or rule, whatever you want to call it, the golden rule. He who holds the gold makes the rules. That's very important. That $1.6 trillion in gold, that's not sitting in government coffers. If it's going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from us. In my humble opinion, maybe not even humble, I'm just going to come out and say it. I believe that nobody should ever pay another dime on their federal student loans. This lending system is a national threat at this point. Do not feed the beast. Bulletproof yourself. It's not that hard. Less than half the people were paying before the pandemic. Probably less than 20% of the people will resume paying when and if this repayment suspension ends. And really, if things go our way, like if we actually do, and the people on this group do what we need to do over the next week and like 5 weeks or month, very good possibility that nobody will ever have to repay again. So what you do sitting there is just so important. Don't wait, watch, worry, eat popcorn, direct. Don't do any of that bullshit. Get your hands dirty. We need you helping right now. On that note, so I'm just going to say these are the two big themes, the overarching themes that we need to be thinking about. Obviously, we're fighting for bankruptcy, fighting for loan cancellation. That's a policy thing. So on sort of the theme side, two things, very important. Number one, we have to get Republicans on our side. We're making a conservative argument. We are fighting a big government monstrosity that is killing the economy in this country, and it's killing the economies more than most in red states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Missouri, Florida, Georgia is the worst. Texas is terrible. Did I say Florida is absolutely off the map? Indiana, I said Alabama. Anyways, this is a red state issue, guys. And this is an American issue more than that. This has nothing to do with Democrats, Republicans. You know, my best guess is that something like 50% or more of people with student loans, they identify as being either Republican or independent. So this is not a liberal issue at all. Having said that, the political lay of the land is such that right now the Republicans are opposing us in Congress. That's just a fact. We've got to reach out to Republicans, guys, and like half the actions that we talk about on our group, our daily actions, usually revolve around reaching out to Republicans. So Republican governors, like the governor of Georgia, the governor of Texas, governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, all these people, they need to know that the people of their states owe more than the entire state budget in student loan debt. These guys have got to be on our side. But it's not just Republican governors and legislators, I should say state legislators. Coming up, Republican senators are going to be absolutely key. So we're talking people like Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, the senators from Florida, senators from North Carolina, South Carolina, the senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, very important. You know, these southern states are being wrecked. We've got to reach out to Republicans. So that's the one overarching theme that we really need to be focused on. Maybe it's contacting them directly. Maybe it's Twitter stuff that we ask you to do. Probably the most bang for the buck that we can get is getting media, news organizations in those states to put those Republican governors, the Republican senators on the spot. Just so important. So hitting Republicans, media, and getting our research out there. You know, this is, I'm not going to go on too long here, but this is an older person's issue. There are more people over 50 than under 25 with student loans. More people over 35 than under 35 with student loans. And the older group in both those cases owe far, far more. This is a woman's issue. 2/3 of student loan debt are owned by females. This is an African American issue. It just is. African Americans are just absolutely trashed by these loans. Their default rate, even before the pandemic, was going to be 80+% for sure. Their default rate historically, going back to when I started this 16 years ago, was like 400 to 500% higher than average. Right now, the average of everybody walking around with student loans, the default rate, the average is going to be somewhere around 75, 80%. So it's impossible to be 4 times higher than that now. You just, mathematically, it's impossible. But, dudes, the lending system is, if you forget everything I say tonight, remember, the lending system is catastrophically failed. So we got this. But you can slice and dice the borrowers up any way you want. It's very unfair for Republicans to go, oh, I don't want them liberal, hippie, protesters, Antifa, BLM people. I don't want those people I see on my TV rioting getting their loans forgiven. That is just a cartoonish oversimplification of what's going on. And I don't think these Republicans, particularly the governors and senators, I don't think they're that stupid. You know, there are 2 million people in Georgia that are absolutely wrecked on their student loan debt. Well, how did that election go in Georgia, right? So, guys, we have a very strong argument to make with Republicans in Congress and in state legislatures. We just do, but we need you helping. You gotta help. One other quick point I wanted to make tonight, and I'm going to get to your comments in a second. One other quick point I want to make tonight is going back to the Pelosi thing. Guys, it is very dangerous that we hear people in Congress, like Nancy Pelosi, saying, oh, no, the president can't cancel these loans. Congress has to cancel these loans. And it's dangerous for us as student loan borrowers, but the bigger point here, the more important point that you probably need to be making, or you need to understand so that you can in turn make it publicly, is that Nancy Pelosi is saying that because she's a member of Congress, and Congress loves getting money and spending money. And by the pay-go rules that Congress usually abides by, unless when they don't want to, but normally standard order, standard procedure is that they have these pay-go rules. So if they want to cancel $1.6 trillion in student loans, they have to come up with $1.6 trillion in funding. So there ain't no way on God's green earth that Congress is going to pass any bill that somehow comes up with $1.6 trillion to cancel student loans. That is beyond fantasy. That is not going to happen in my lifetime or anybody's lifetime that's alive right now, certainly. It's just not going to happen. And it's the most terrible. It's just terrible. I mean, think about that. Remember, guys, federal student loans, they were already paid for by the taxpayers many years ago. That $1.6 trillion, the taxpayers own those loans today. So why should they have to pay, not just pay again, it's not paying twice to cancel these loans, but it's paying far more than twice. Because that $1.6 trillion is the vast majority of interest and penalties and fees, just nonsense. The actual unpaid principal of that 1.6 trillion, nobody knows what the number is. I'm guessing it's probably a couple, maybe $300 billion. So we're not talking about the taxpayer having to pay twice for loans that they are pay again for loans that they already paid for the first time. We're talking about the taxpayer having to pay the first time, which they already did, and then like 5 times more the second time, 4 or 5 times, maybe even more the second time around. Just how retarded is that? No offense to disabled, whatever. That's just retarded, guys. That's just asinine, stupid, fucked up, and ridiculous. Pardon my French. And, you know, we're a fiercely nonpartisan group. But when I see Democrats spewing that sort of nonsense, all that does is reinforces the existing stereotype about them that they are just taxers and spenders. And I'm pointing to the Democrats because Nancy Pelosi said that. But, you know, there's a lot of shoes going to fall off this millipede. I suspect that we're going to see a lot of Republican congressmen echoing her call pretty soon. Don't worry about it, guys. We got this. And remember, guys, at the end of the day, we control this lending system. We can, by popular unconsent, by popular rejection, we can delete this lending system from existence. And it may come down to that. I hope it doesn't. I hope that everybody out there takes my words, particularly tonight, very seriously, and starts doing those daily actions that we're asking people to do. We're going to have news, like probably even maybe by the end of this week. But certainly by like Monday or Tuesday. So, well, hopefully by next week. I'm not going to add any more information to what I've already said. Beyond saying that. So yeah. Hey, Ryan Velez says, explain how the taxpayer already paid the loans years ago. I have not heard that before. Yeah, Ryan, 87% of all student loan debt are direct federal student loans. In other words, the taxpayer loaned this money to the students years ago when they went to college. Maybe it was 5 years ago, maybe it was 20 years ago, who knows? So the taxpayers already paid for these loans. They already own these loans. I mean, think about it. If you lend your friend $100 and they go, hey, can you cancel that loan? And you'll go, yeah, I can cancel that loan, but I'm going to need $100, or actually I'm going to need $500 to cancel that loan. So pay me $500 and I'll cancel that $100 loan, right? That's how asinine and stupid what Nancy Pelosi is saying is. The tax, and as I said, the Higher Education Act gives the Secretary and the President very broad authority to cancel loans basically at will. Obviously, they've got to do it in a constitutional way, so they can't discriminate, that sort of thing. But it's, yeah, so hopefully that's clear. Hey, Ryan also says, oh, I see your point. Mitch McConnell is one of my senators. Rand Paul, too. Okay, obviously. So you're from Kentucky. Well, you know, Kentucky is being wrecked by student loans. We haven't reached out more strongly to the governor of Kentucky, but we really should. Ryan, Mitch McConnell is at the top of the list. He's a bad guy. And you know, let me also just say here, folks. I know we have got a lot of partisan people in the group, and I honor and respect that. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat or none of the above, you're very welcome here. We're all fighting for the very same thing: return of bankruptcy student loans and the cancellation of all federally owned student loans. So you're welcome here. Having said that, I know that a lot of people of an opposite political persuasion pretty much cannot stand, like a Democrat in Kentucky probably cannot stand Mitch McConnell or Rand Paul. And most of them, we ask them to push them. They'll go, no, I'm not going to push him. He's an asshole. I'm not going to do anything. That guy's an asshole. That's exactly the wrong attitude, guys. Because listen, guys, it's a double-edged sword. We have to push them. And if you hate them, that's literally all the more reason you should be pushing them. Because if you're right and they are assholes and they won't even give us the time of day, well then, by pushing them very publicly and them abandoning us, turning their back on us, that is exposing them to the millions, probably, of student loan holding voters, 80% of whom are freaking out about their loans, by the way. That is exposing them to the electorate. So if you hate them and they do what I say, great. Maybe, and student loans go away, great. Maybe hate them a little bit less. If they don't do what we push them to do, then we will bury them, right? We will expose them publicly. We will destroy them publicly in the press, everywhere. So we can't lose, guys. The only way we can lose is if you don't push. That's the only way that we're going to lose. So, anyways, I've gone on for a while here, guys. Let me, oh, Steven Simpson, how you doing, Steven? Says, what she says is BS. The Biden administration has canceled billions of debt already. You know, I don't want to wade too far deeply into the legal argument. What our opposition is saying, Stephen, is that if there is not a pre-existing a law that gives a framework for the president to cancel loans, then he can't do it. So we have this borrower defense to repayment rule that pre-existed. So by our opposition's argument, there was existing law that the president could point to cancel those loans. But, I'm not even going to go that deeply in there with you, Stephen. Suffice it to say, our opposition has garbage. They've got nonsense. They don't have a leg to stand on. The president and the secretary absolutely have the power to cancel loans. And for them to say otherwise is just stupid and nonsensical. And the masks are coming off of the student loan swamp as we speak. Mark Kantrowitz, I'm very sorry to say that. Nancy Pelosi, very sorry to say that, but it's true. Mitch McConnell is just anyways, don't get me started. It's a long list of swamp people, but so I hope that you guys are thrilled. I'm sorry I can't tell you more, but hopefully you can tell by the edge in my voice that I'm very, very, very. This is kind of a big deal, guys. What you do in the next week, 5 weeks, maybe 2 months. It could spell the difference. I think it probably will spell the difference between whether this sausage that comes out the other end of Washington, D.C. is good for us or whether it's a waste of our time. So I'm hoping for that first things, guys. And remember, I'm not going to say anything more than that. I've said enough. I've said too much. But stay tuned, guys. It's getting fun. It's getting exciting. I hope that you're excited. I want to be done with these loans. I want to be done with these loans. I'm ready to move on with my life. Do you not feel the same way? I hope that you do. I hope that your answer is no, that you do feel exactly the same way. So get on it. This is a working group. Get to work. Start working. Don't wait, watch, and worry. And don't sit on the sidelines and eat popcorn and point your finger and try and direct. Don't do that shit. Help us. We need your help right now. These are your loans. Your problem. So on that, I'll be back on Friday. It will be back on Thursday. Check back early and often, very, very frequently on a daily basis. Help us. Quit fucking around. Pardon my French. So good luck, everybody. Good luck. Have a great night. I'll see you on Friday. Godspeed. And God bless everybody.